From the News Channel 5 network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. The Nashville Banner was the city's afternoon newspaper from 1876 until it shut down its presses in 1998. Now the Banner is back as an online news service with its first stories becoming available late last week. Steve Cavendish is a longtime journalist and former editor of the Nashville Scene. He's one of the prime movers behind creating the Nashville Banner, the new Nashville Banner. He's also the editor of the new online service, and he's our guest on Inside Politics this week. Steve, welcome back to the program.
Pat, really appreciate you having me.
This effort to resurrect the Banner is certainly not something that just got dreamed up a couple of weeks ago. I mean, we were on the program here over 3 years ago to talk about trying to do this. What's happened over the last several years that sort of delayed this process?
Well, there was a little thing called a global pandemic.
COVID, yeah.
And when you launch a nonprofit in the middle of a pandemic, it's a little tougher than you might expect.
I think I read that you said that your efforts to raise money for this just about evaporated.
Yeah, we started having conversations with people in March, February, March of 2020, with major donors, and by the end of that month, everybody's views of the world had changed, and so some stuff went into mothballs, and we went into mothballs, and so it took us a little while to get some momentum back.
So what made you persevere and keep going? I mean, a lot of people, when they got to that, said, okay, I guess I'm going to do something else.
Well, I think it's the state of local news, and the fact of the matter is that local news, and when we talk about the media and newspapers, we're not talking about the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. We're talking about places like the Tennessean, places that are local and regional newspapers. The Pew Foundation says that those newsrooms have been cut in half since 2008. What we know from here is that since the Banner closed, that newsroom's been cut by 2/3. And the impact of that on local news is horrific.
Your original fundraising goal, I believe, was $2 million. Have you achieved that? How close are you?
We're about halfway to that. Our fundraising goal is about $3 million.
Oh, $3 million.
$2 million of that is local money, and we're over halfway. We're over halfway to that.
This fundraising, the people who are giving you money, do they become your owners, or is the owners a little different situation?
No, it's a nonprofit setup. We're a 501c3. We're filed with the IRS. We filed that paperwork and got our C letter back in 2020, and so we're governed by a board of directors like any nonprofit is, but there is no ownership per se.
So the money going forward in terms of operating capital is going to be from subscribers. Is that right?
Right. It'll be from members. So there's sort of two ways you can do this. You can do this as a subscription service, which is you're producing something that I want, I'm going to pay you for it, or as a membership basis, which is similar to public television, public radio, and the value proposition is you're doing something that I want everyone to have.
Two questions. What's it cost to be a member, and what's your first year goal in terms of getting members?
So we'll have a couple of different membership tiers, but we're going to look at that kind of base membership at being a little over $8 a month. About $100 a year is what we're looking for from our average member. And then we're going to look at, we need to eventually build a large membership base because that's the core part of revenue. And so we'll target a number of 10,000 members. But that'll be a build.
10,000 by what, year 5, year 3 or 4, or longer than that?
We hope to have 10,000 by the end of year 2.
Obviously, this nonprofit status is key. What you're trying to do would not work if you didn't have this. Is that right?
And I think the nonprofit news has been a growth engine all over the country, and you have seen more and more local news operations that are start up as a nonprofit, but for a couple of different reasons. A, there's none of the profit pressures that are coming from big companies. One of the big problems right now is that newspapers, by and large, 55% of all newspapers are owned by hedge funds or some form of private equity. And there's real cost pressures on all of those newsrooms, which is why you see no more resources being put into local newsrooms. They only get cut. We think that the nonprofit model, particularly as it's been executed over the last 10 years by a lot of organizations, is really the only way forward at the local level.
With the Banner now being a nonprofit and I become a member, does that mean my membership is deductible? In what ways from my taxes?
I mean, we're a 501c3. You can deduct that $8 a month from your taxes.
And you said you had different levels of membership. $8 is the basic membership.
$8 is the basic.
Where does it go from there?
And then we'll go up to $100 a month or $250 a month for bigger donors.
Now, in terms of finding your things online, how are you different? It seems to me public television, public radio, they do theirs on the honor system. You don't have to become a member in order to watch the television or listen to the radio. To get your service, they're going to have to become members. Is that right?
No, we will not have a paywall, and I think that's an important sort of feature. Since newspapers and news organizations went online in the mid '90s, we have taught people that news is free online, and I don't think that. I think it is kind of a fool's game to try to fight that. Over the long term. Some people are doing that. The Daily Memphian is doing a very good job of it right now. They're a nonprofit that was launched in Memphis a little over 3 years ago. They do it on a subscription basis, and they built an organization right now that's bigger than the commercial appeal. And you can do that, but I think for us, a membership model is better.
But membership means you have some personal equity or ownership. Is that the difference between that and subscriber, or is a subscriber you don't get any service at all until you become a subscriber?
Exactly. In a subscriber model, there's usually a paywall. There's usually, I have to click here, I have to enter some credentials, and then the story will be available to me.
If somebody goes to the higher level of becoming a member, do they get more things the others don't get, or does everybody still get it regardless?
We're gonna have some fun stuff for people that are members at different levels. We're gonna have some events. We're gonna have different access for folks. We'll let them come to some news meetings and some things like that.
Steve Cavendish is our guest. He's the new editor of the new Nashville Banner, an online news service. Back to continue our conversation with Steve about the new Banner and the changing media market here in Nashville after this break.